Welcome to episode 4 of The Genuine Show. And today I have a guest, and it is my dad, Michael Dorval. We have the same name. And, Dad, you have a shop in Iowa, and I want to bring you on today so we can put this on record, how the shop came to be. You are the founder of this whole idea of everything. I want you to... how did you get... I mean, we didn't grow up mechanics. We didn't grow up bicycle, savvy at all. So how did this come about?
Well, I wanted to start a business that would cross all barriers, young, old, middle-aged, just all barriers, white, black, tall, short, skinny, fat. And I really thought bicycles was the way.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, tell me a little bit about, you growing up riding bikes, because that's one thing I love about the bike shop is that, cycling is a sport, but it's also something that everyone grew up doing. Is just riding a bike. So what did you grow up riding?
Well, I think that's what really made the bike shop very special to me was that my grandfather bought me my first bike when I was about 7, and I absolutely loved the bike. It was green and had a white banana seat, and there was just so much freedom in a bicycle for me. And I could go anywhere on it. I could ride it as far as I wanted. It was what really got me into loving bicycles.
Awesome. Yeah, I learned how to ride bikes in Mexico. My cousin Daisy taught me in the campo, in the dirt field. Well, so yeah, we grew up, everyone grows up riding bikes. And you started your shop in Iowa, the bike shop, about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In Cedar Rapids.
2011, July of 2000.
Yeah. And how exactly did that start?
Well, when I moved to Cedar Rapids, I was riding a bicycle and the tire went flat.
Uh-huh.
And I went to a well-known, 100-year-old shop. They've been there since the 1800s, called Hall's, and they were pretty much the closest bike shop to where the tire went flat. And I wanted just to buy a tube and change the flat myself. And but I didn't have any tools, and I asked them if they would lend me some tools, and they said, no, we don't do that, which I understood. And I asked them what they charged to, do the work for me. And it was I don't remember the exact amount, but I thought I could do this 10 times a day for half that cost. And, that's what really got me thinking about opening a bike shop.
Yeah, it was logistics. Yeah. And that's what I saw when I opened this shop up in 2020 during the pandemic, because I called you, remember? And I said, Dad, I went to 6 bike shops today and 5 yesterday, and they were all 2 months out on service. And you told me, you just got to open up some doors, and that's it. And that's exactly what I did. And what I noticed about our shop compared to the other shops is the attitude difference. And to me, I, kind of coming from the outside looking in, because we didn't start as mechanics, we started as enthusiasts. And, I feel like some mechanics and mechanical-minded people, they kind of learn about something so much that they have a hard time realizing that other folks don't know as much about it. So that kind of creates an attitude in some bike shops that you go into, some newer, bigger shops, that some people would say is kind of a rude kind of...
I don't think it's necessarily rude, but they're so specific. You know, like if you have a Schwinn and you take it into a Trek shop, they just, for some reason, feel like they're better than that, or their bike is, and our shop is like the way I started it, and it's for everybody. We don't care if they bring in a Walmart bike, a Target bike, a Montgomery Ward's bike, 1920 Arnold Schwinn Henderson bike. We look at them all and we continue to build them and repair them. Again, we just wanted to cross all borders, all barriers that might be out there in a bike shop that just pretty much exclusively gears themselves for a particular brand. I didn't think that was good.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really what separates us. I feel it, and people love our shop, and they leave reviews kind of saying the same sentiment. You know, they like our environment. Now, I did my first episode was what bike to pick. That's the title of the episode, because a lot of the customers we have, they come into our shops and they say some of these things. They say, you know, I haven't ridden a bike since I was a kid. Mm-hmm. Some people come in and they say, I've never ridden a bike. You know, right. I had a friend the other day. I asked her if she had a bike, you know, and this, because I'm always so excited. I have a shop. I'm able to, you know, hook my friends up with the bike, with deals and all this and that. So I asked my friend, you know, if she'd ever had a bike, or if she had a bike. And she said, you know, actually, I was embarrassed to tell you, but I've never ridden a bike. And I said, you shouldn't be embarrassed. I'm the perfect person to tell that to, because our shop is, you know, geared towards
any barrier. Yeah. We want to cross it with them.
Entry level, any barrier. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what do you think the perfect entry level bike to get is? If someone came up to you today and said, Mike, I've never ridden a bike, what bike should I get?
Well, I think it's a lot based on, you know, my approximately 15 years of really studying the type of customer that gets the most benefit out of a bicycle. And so what I've found, and my first choice always is a hybrid. They are easy to ride and they are fun, and that's what biking should be, is fun. A lot of people buy a bike for exercise, but I tell all my customers, I think it's more important that when you buy a bike that you have fun. And most hybrids are so easy to pedal in lower gears, and yet if you want to get good exercise, they'll give you the same performance. They're just so well-rounded, and it doesn't matter if Trek makes it, Specialized makes it, Scott makes it, Cannondale. You know, a nice hybrid is a really good entry-level bike for just about anybody that wants to get into biking, because it's raised handlebars, it's comfort saddles, it's, you know, skinny tires so they roll really nice. It's a larger wheel. Again, there's less work. It's just a lot more enjoyment. And I think that should be the main interest, is riding a bike for fun. And the rest is just the result, and that's exercise.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, let's get some info out of you that you're very well-versed in, expert in, is some old school bikes. Tell us about Schwinn. Tell us about these old school bikes and you know, where they started, these fastbacks, the, you know, shifter in the middle. This is, you know, stuff that a lot of folks, especially my age, we've seen the pictures, we know what they look like, but the history of them is so fascinating. Tell us a little bit about.
Well, I think in the 60s, what a lot of manufacturers, even before the 60s, wanted to do was make a bicycle that had some similarities to cars, and it was a huge hit. First of all, Stingray, car name. Corvette, car name. Panther, car name. Mustangs, just Lincolns. I mean, manufacturers made bicycles that had shifters, kind of like a car had a shifter, and that was very iconic. Tires that were slick, like a dragster tire, and so and they did even call bikes dragsters. So I think that was my main thing. I love the fact that, if a bicycle had a name that was common to a, iconic car like Corvette, I've always thought that was very interesting. And to actually build the car, or build the bicycle so that it had lines similar to a Corvette. We recently sold a 1956 Evans Colson, and it was designed by the head designer for Corvette. His name is Harvey Earl, I believe, and he actually drew the designs. And when Evans, which was the manufacturer that bought out Colson, went to him, they said, "We want this bicycle to look like a car," and it was an extremely amazing bicycle in 1956 that had lines like the Corvette. How do you get any better?
That's cool. I never made that connection between cars and bikes. I just figured everything from that era kind of looked the same. I didn't make that connection that bikes were following the cool designs.
Well, the muscle car industry, even back into the 40s and 50s, and naturally the 60s and 70s, with the shifter on the floor, and all that was what they were really trying to capture, that idea. And it was, like I said, a very big hit.
Yeah, that shifter.
And a wide tire and a small tire in the front.
Yeah, the tires, the slick tires. Mm-hmm. That's cool. That's awesome. And now you're getting into BMXs.
Yeah. More cool stuff.
So that's like more of the 80s. So the, 60s, 70s.
Started out in the say the late 70s, but, the early 80s stuff has just gotten so much review from people. They just reminisce with what they had when they were a kid. And most of those people that had a bike in the 80s are now well into their 40s and even 50s. And it's just a love affair that just never changed. They just really enjoyed them and customized them and things of that nature. Yeah, so that's what I love about BMXs, is kids just customized them, from the grips all the way to the valve caps.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, nostalgia goes a long way. You can tell by our shop here, all the nostalgic stuff. With the old school bikes, now talk a little bit about the lights, the gas tanks. These are features that...
Yeah, same thing. Old school bikes had lights that looked kind of like a car light, and it was big, and it really, accessorized the bike like you might accessorize a car nowadays. Back then, that was very big. That was very important to accessorize.
And a gas tank in the middle, kind of like a motorcycle.
The tank looked like a gas tank, and a lot of people think that when they look at an old bike and it has a tank on it, that was for gas, but realistically, it was for a horn.
A horn, yeah. And I've seen you have one that was still working.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
In fact, every one I've ever had, the horn worked because I made sure so.
That's awesome. Wow.
Happy holidays, everybody. Just want to let you guys know, definitely if you have any spare kids' bikes or bicycles in general, our foundation, Bicycles for Children, will definitely accept those donations, and we'll be able to get those to really happy families for the holidays, and their kids can all celebrate and have a great time with them. But happy holidays again, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
And there's a lot of these bike shows all across the country.
All over the United States, from the West Coast to the East Coast, and everywhere in between.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, people starting to get into the sport of cycling or starting to look at some different types of bikes. You have the gravel bike now, road bikes, mountain bikes. Back in the day, a 10-speed was a new thing.
Oh, yeah.
So when the 10-speed came out, that was kind of like a Schwinn, with explain some about that. What is that exactly? It's just when bikes started getting gears, or
Bikes have had gears for quite a while, but then when they started going beyond 3 speeds to 5 speeds and then 10 speeds, road bikes have been, something that's always been kind of a professional sport. So I've always admired road bikes and how sleek they are and how light they are, yet how fast they are. Naturally, your tires are skinnier and your weight is reduced dramatically, and you're having drop-down handlebars so that you and the bike are very aerodynamic. And I thought that era was very interesting. In fact, my very first road bike was a Peugeot, and I loved it. I could ride we lived in the country, and my friend owned a Derwiener Schnitzel in Denver, downtown. And I would ride from, the country 20 miles to go to work at the Derwiener Schnitzel.
and that's no joke. You lived in Elizabeth.
Well,
where
we were a
was
little
that?
closer at that point, but we did live in Franktown. Oh, no, Elizabeth. But yeah, it was fun. I didn't ride a bike from there, but I rode a bike from Arapahoe County to downtown Denver, which was like 2 different worlds. And I rode that road bike, and it was amazingly different because, 10 gears. You have a very high gear, you have a very low gear, and then you had all these, in between mid-range gears that you could handle any terrain as fast as you could pedal.
That's cool. Let me ask you, have you ever crashed a bike?
The worst wipeout I ever had on a bicycle was I caught the loop of my shoestring on the kickstand, and it happened about 5 years ago.
Oh, really?
And that's the first time I can actually say that I can remember actually wiping out and not being able to get it under control, or not being able to just hop off the bike and let the bike go and, recover.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I remember we didn't crash, but I remember a time I was little and we were in Mexico. Remember you put me on the handlebars. I was sitting up, so I must have been small.
I didn't say on motorcycles because, yes, one time when I was young and probably about 11, we had a motorcycle, a 175 Yamaha Enduro, and I put my brother on the back, and then we built ramps that were at least 1.5 feet tall, and I put him on the back of the bike, and lo and behold, we wiped out because I forgot to put the kickstand up, and we hit the jump, and that caught the actual kickstand, and we wiped out. But that was on a motorcycle, not a bicycle. And somehow or another, my younger brother got the worst of it. I don't think I got hurt at all.
Really? So both of your wipeouts were due to kickstand?
One other wipeout. We had ekits.com get a hold of me to take care of some disc brake problems for a couple of tripods that they had sold to somebody in a little town in Iowa. And I went and picked up the bikes. And tripods have 2 wheels in the front, 1 wheel in the back. And they were electric. And so I did fix the brakes, but in order to test the brakes, I had to full throttle the electric, so it was open all the way. And then I was going around a corner, and a car pulled out in front of me, and I rolled the bike, and I didn't even get a scratch. The bike handlebars, grips, shifter, everything got broken, but I completely rolled the bike, got back up, got back on the bike, checked myself out, no scratches, no nothing. Went down a hill and decided to test the brakes again at almost full throttle, but a little bit slower than full throttle, and rolled the bike again. I was strapped in, and I think I couldn't get my feet out of the strap to put my feet down, and rolled the bike again. That did happen just recently, but that was a tripod e-bike. So that's a little bit, it's a bicycle, but it's more of an e-bike.
You gotta be careful.
More of a three-wheeler.
Yeah. We, the other day, we had a good day. You're visiting from Cedar Rapids, and yeah, we got 5 bikes out of here.
Mm-hmm.
That was powerful. That was good.
Pretty good.
Yeah, and we're almost into winter.
Mm-hmm.
People ride bikes all year long. People use bikes for transportation.
Especially in a city, it's just such a quick commute. Trying to find parking in a big city, Chicago, Denver, Dallas, parking is a monster. And if you can park on the outskirts and just have a bike on the back rack and, tootle around the city on a bike, a lot easier. We had a lot of fun in Chicago tootling around on a bike.
I remember that. I remember my question now. We've heard the horror stories. People getting their bikes stolen left and right. What do you suggest for people to keep their bikes secure and safe?
Well, absolutely, lock it down. Use a very heavy duty lock. You may have to, put it in a back rack, attach it to the bike if need be, but use a lock that you can't cut with bolt cutters. Otherwise, you're going to lose the bike. If you lose a front tire, you lose a seat, or a front wheel or a seat, that's not that big of a deal. If you lose the whole bike, that's kind of disappointing. So yeah, just use a U-bolt, what we use and what we sell, and they're not going to get the bike. It takes too long to cut through them. And so therefore, if you are getting, or if you've had a bike stolen, it isn't your fault, but there is a way to protect yourself. They may steal the front wheel, which most people that are out stealing bikes aren't interested in a front wheel. They may steal a seat, and same thing. Most people that steal bikes are not interested in a seat. They're interested in a bike. So use a U-bolt. Secure it against something that's not movable, and they will just pass on your bike. They'll just go to something that's easier to steal.
Yeah. How expensive are some of these old school bikes getting? Is there rare ones?
I've sold a few. Sold a few last year, over 5,000.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And are there rare models,
A friend of mine owns a museum in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and he has several bikes in there that are well over $20,000.
Really?
Yes.
You sent me a picture or something from that museum?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got several in there that are, into the $20,000 range. I think anything by Cook's Brothers, anything that's, like new old stock in an original box from Schwinn, that any kind of crate that would be, a new old stock. You could be easily looking at $25,000.
Dang.
Yeah, even restored recently, a cotton picker sold for over $10,000, fully restored, over $10,000 at an auction. And at that same auction, a Gray Ghost sold for over $11,000 for a bicycle, restored, not original, not NOS, not new old stock. Something fully restored. That's how desirable they are.
Yo, I'm interrupting this video to tell you about financial education. There's a great team that works here out of the bicycle shop. They have a meeting every Wednesday at 6. They're licensed by the state of Colorado, and they're educated and knowledgeable to let folks know and help them budget and invest safely, They're talking about index accounts. They're talking about, 401ks, annuities, all these crazy words that I had no idea what they meant at all. But with the help of them, I'm starting to understand. And that's the reason that, they really help us out here. And they're one of our sponsors. And they really are, because they allow us the time to do stuff like this video, this educational video for bicycles. And, I'm the owner of Bike Shop Denver, of Genuine Bike Shop Denver, and they help me with the finances here. We're a small business, and, this is stuff that they don't even teach you in financial school. Financial schools, you learn a lot. You learn about how banks work and, what stocks mean and what they are, but they're not teaching a lot of personal finances. And that's what this crew really does, and we're all about supporting the community, and that's exactly what they do. So contact the shop if you're looking for anything like that. Right now they're, really just working with no office, just anywhere you are, they will meet you. But they have a meeting here every Wednesday at 6 p.m. They have a meeting every Monday in Aurora, and we have the information for all of that. So reach out to the bike shop personally, just ask about financial education, and we'll connect you with the right people. Thanks. And when you restore a bike, how detailed are you getting?
I mean, it has to be just identical to what the factory did. Every bolt, every washer, all the hardware is original. It's what Schwinn actually used. We spend a lot of money on bicycles just for their hardware, original hardware.
And these old bikes, some of them, they have chrome on them, and some of them come to you with a lot of rust on them. You're getting that rust off. You're restoring it.
Well, sometimes we have to replate parts, but for the most part, Schwinn was triple plated. That's why I really prefer the older Schwinns, because all of their plating was done. They had a triple plating process that was, and it still is, very easy to clean. And that's very appealing to people. Most people that buy Schwinns really prefer original chrome, because it was so cleanable, and that's what made them stand out, is those chrome fenders, those chrome wheels, those chrome handlebars, all the chrome Springer front ends. Those were things that really resonated with what cars looked like back in those days.
Yeah, that's cool. I know you already told me the other day, but I want you to tell it again so we have it on record and in our videos. Your buddy called you one time and asked you if you could go pick up a bike for him. Mm-hmm. What was that about?
Well, at the time, a very good friend of mine called me. It was in the middle of winter, and we were a little slower in the winter, and he asked me if I wouldn't mind taking a trip to Portage, Indiana. He said that he had bought a bike there, and he needed, the guy would like for him to pick it up, because a couple of weeks had gone by, and he really needed me to get out there and pick it up. And he asked me if I'd do it, and I was like, of course. It was about a 6-hour drive one way, and so I drove to Portage, Indiana, and when I got there, for some reason, this guy wanted to meet at the police station. Gordon had already paid for the bike, and he met me at the police station, and I seen the bike, and I was like, whoa, I like that. And Gordon told me before I picked up the bike that it was in 1961. And of course, Gordon knew it was my birth year, but I didn't think much of that, but I really liked the bike. So I didn't ask the man, what Gordon paid for it. I thought that would be rather rude, and I picked up the bike and I disassembled it a little bit and got it into the van. And right away I called Gordon to let him know that I got the bike, all went well, everything was there. And I said, hey, Gordon, I just have to know, because I love the bike. It's in 1961, my birth year. What did you pay for that bike? And he told me, he said, would you tell somebody what you paid for their Christmas gift?
That was sweet.
A 1961 American, almost unheard of in a 20-inch. You can find Americans in a 24-inch. They're pretty rare also, but 26-inch, that was the main production line for Americans, was 26-inch. But this is a 20-inch American. They're just unheard of. 1961, my birth year, muscle bike. And he wanted me to have a muscle bike my birth year.
That's badass. That's awesome. I remember when I had to be in third grade, and it was for my birthday is pretty close to Christmas, so it was for my birthday Christmas gift was a wrapped up shape of a bicycle. I remember, I was like, I wonder what this is, but it was my birthday present, and I rode that bike to school. And I loved that bike. I don't even remember the brand or anything, but it was badass. I had a brand new bike, and the feeling was crazy because I was going to a brand new school with my brand new bike, and we had a brand new dog, and it was just amazing. And I loved that bike, and I had it for a long time, and that was really cool. What do you say to the folks that, push for expensive bikes? You get into these competitions, or not even competitions. I've been doing these 100-mile bike rides that are less of competitions and they're more of assisted ride, you're just supposed to push yourself and go. But you see a lot of people in these events with the $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 carbon fiber road bike.
Well, it's components that really end up being the real cost. Naturally, the frame is expensive, but what's expensive is what's built around it, like wheel sets, special tires. Everything on a bicycle is measured in centimeters and ounces. So anytime you increase something by a few centimeters or drop something by a few centimeters, or especially in, racing bikes, anytime you decrease the weight by even an ounce, it's a pretty big deal, but it can cost a lot of money because that part has to be, it's racing. It has to be next to indestructible. Wow. So that's how bikes get very expensive, is the faster you want to go on the bike, the more expensive, unless it's something old school that's quite rare.
Yeah. 2 questions. 1, how much should people be spending on a bike to get into cycling? And 2, how often should they be maintaining?
Well, I personally am biased. I don't see any sense in buying a bicycle brand new when you can buy a used bike, in the $500-$600 range, that you may have to spend $1,200 to $1,500 buying it brand new, and you're going to get the same bike. That's kind of the thing about bicycles, is if they're properly restored, which we do, they come from us like a factory built bike, and that really adds to the value, in that you let somebody else pay the retail and you're coming in at more of a wholesale. But it also makes biking, a really nice bike, available to just about anybody.
True. Now, what do you say to the people who are concerned, with a vehicle? Sometimes you buy a car and there's some part in it that's a dud that can never really be, fixed. Even if you fix it, it's not, is there parts like that on a bike? I mean, what if I get a bike and it has a bad cassette or this or that or the other? Will it ever feel brand new again?
Well, I honestly, we've been at my shop for 15 seasons, and there's never been a bicycle that's come there that we haven't been able to fix, ever. And the only exception to that rule is sometimes repairing a bike can be more expensive than replacing, i.e., say the bike was backed over by dad not paying attention, that bike might get to the point where it's just more, it's less expensive to replace. But if the bike is still in good working or not working order, there's just about no bike that can't be rebuilt, and better parts, better wheels, better components. And there are some frames that, maybe are weaker than other frames, but I think for the most part, manufacturers have the frames down pat. It's the components and everything that goes onto the bike that really makes the bike.
Yeah, and this is something you taught me, and this is something a lot of other shops don't do, is the detail to the cleaning aspect of it. Because we get bikes in, and sure, we'll fix them up, sure, we'll make them feel like new again, but to the folks that are coming in that have no idea about bikes and, no idea about what they're going to buy, the detail cleaning aspect is really, really, it just makes the bike look brand new again, and it really gives it that feel.
We very rarely have to paint a bike. Almost never. We hand buff out all the nicks and scratches, and we could literally paint bikes, but the original manufacturer's paint is in 90% of the cases perfect, but you have to disassemble the bike and clean it. We literally hand buff and clean and detail just about every single bike that we put time and energy into. And that's why our bikes look like brand new, even though they may be 5 years old.
Yeah. And when we get to restore a bike, remember, you used to have those bikes powder coated.
Yes, we still powder coat bicycle frames.
Yeah, they used to come out so cool with the sparkle.
Yeah, it's stronger than paint. Unless it's a factory paint job, all paint chips, all paint, and then even powder coating, it will eventually get a chip in it. But, that's something that's in a lot of cases not necessary if you know how to properly clean and buff and, eliminate some of the, years of wear on the frame itself, on the paint. And I think we're pretty professional at that. We make bikes look very beautiful from decades back.
Well, I only have one more question for you, and we could talk about bikes for hours and hours, and we'll definitely do this again because this is fun. And where do you think cycling is going?
Cycling has been around since the 1800s, late 1800s, so it is definitely going to change. I'm very certain that there's a new avenue that's been really exploding in cycling, and I would say that's the e-bike section. The problem is it's hard to build a really good bicycle that's electric unless you spend well into the $3,000, maybe even $4,000 range. If you buy an e-bike that's in that under $1,000 range, you're not going to have much of a bike. You might have good electronics and a good solid e-bike, but they're going to have a lot of problems bicycle-wise, and maybe even problems electrically. But if you spend the big bucks, $3,000 to $5,000 on an e-bike, you're buying some amazing technology, and people are falling in love with that. So I think that's the wave of the future for probably the next 2 or 3, maybe even 5 years. And then after that, it's anybody's guess. Maybe they'll put wings on them. They can do it. Well, the Wright brothers, they used bicycle parts to build the first plane.
That's true. And also, there's always going to be people getting into physical fitness who want just a good old-fashioned cycle. And for that, you can always come to the bike shop. That's right. So that concludes that episode. That was perfect. That was great. That's awesome. Thank you, Dad. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, son.
Heck yeah.